So thank you for being with us. If you're a newcomer, we appreciate you joining us. It is our custom for me to ask, got all these notes. This is what the staff here says. Michael, be sure to say this and this and this, you know. You see, I just turn it over. Turning over a new leaf. So, what would you like me to talk about today?
Discerning intuition versus fear disguising itself as intuition.
Empowerment of our I am self.
Heart, brain, cohesion.
What is it?
The heart and brain cohesion.
Heart. Got it. Okay.
Tolerance.
Okay, one sec. Hold on one sec. What were the last two? And somebody else? Tolerance. One more.
Feminine.
What is it?
The feminine.
Okay. Boy, okay. For the folks online, thank you for joining us, first of all. A wide variety of things: heart and brain cohesion, empowerment of the I am, forgiveness, tolerance, and so on. You know, one of the things that comes to mind is, I mean, it's such an amazing thing. Human beings think so habitually linearly, right? Linearly. What are you doing today? Well, I'm doing this and then I'm doing that. Everything's just so linear, which makes sense to the left brain, but that's why the left brain isn't right. Get it? Sorry. Let's start off with a cheap joke. There's a place for it, and I've said this many times. There's a place for the left brain, the logical, analytical, and linear brain. Its placement only has one right place, and that is to follow the orders of the right brain. And the right brain only has one proper place, which is to follow the inspirations from God. So it should be really God inspires our right brain, which goes, oh, you know, the right brain, wow. You know, imaginative and inspired. That's the right brain. And then the right brain should say, now here's how we need to make that make sense in the third dimensional world. So the left brain becomes a bridge. The right brain becomes a bridge between God and matter, but the left brain becomes a bridge between the heart, the soul, the inspirations coming from God and the 3D world. You know, it's nice to say, man, I'm just so right brain, but oh my God, you know, have somebody drive you to the airport that's all in their right brain. They're just like in roundabouts forever, you know, just, you know, the freeways and wrong off ramp, and trust me, I've done this. And I just, in the back seat or wherever, I'm sitting in the car, my driver, and I'm thinking, always interview first. No right brain people. I want a left brain person. I want a left brain person doing my taxes too. Right? There's a place for it. I've shared this story before, but I had this shamanic Native American man, this goddessy wild woman. Her hair was just everywhere. And I'd go in and she'd have all kinds of amulets and things on her desk, you know. And I'd bring in my taxes. She did my taxes for, I don't know, 5 years or so, 10 years. And she would just go, Michael, you have to keep receipts so that we can write things off. And I say, you mean one of those things that people keep, like a shoebox of? No. She's going, no, you'll save money. I'll pay money. I'm not saving receipts. So it got to the point where she said, you know, I just want to tell you, I have files of all my clients. Yours has a programmed crystal in it to protect because you don't do anything right. You don't save receipts to save $1, you know. And she's like, I just do prayer over it. I'm like, well, that's isn't that the way it should be? But we can summarize so many things. You know, we think linearly. But life is more like a wheel. If you think about it, it's so obvious that it's more like, life is cyclical. The seasons would be one. But life is cyclical. Karma, cause and effect, right? Relationships are cyclical. Jobs, things are cyclical. They move in cycles or circles. And we've done a talk, I think, just cycles within cycles or whatever it was called. But this wheel of life, but really there's a wheel that's a hamster wheel that we're born into, thrown into, stuck into, and it just keeps going around. And we just kind of go, I can't believe this happened. And then at the furthest point from here is, I'm a victim. I can't believe this happened. But maybe there's hope for it. No, another cycle. And then, oh, maybe there's hope. Nope. And the sun's coming up. I can see it over the horizon. Nope, that was a train. You know? And it just goes around and around. And on another level, I mean, it's heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking to feel suddenly there's hope and it just doesn't open up. Relationship and new income or something that's promising to you. You know, I've seen people do this in many areas of life. Oh, this relationship is for sure it. Oh my God, and then it falls. Or you move to a new town and this one's going to be the best, and you know, things like that happen. You buy a car and it doesn't end up being what you want. You know, there are people that are so survival of the fittest, they're in the hamster wheel taking advantage of people that are barely surviving. And they lie and they deceive politicians or whatever it happens to be, certain sales types of people, because they're in the wheel too, and they know the only way I can survive the wheel is just try to stay up here and not be one of these. So they have to fight to survive. Now, it's just dog eat dog. And whatever the topic, it just keeps going around. And if you think about it, that feeling is tired. But when you plug into a different kind of wheel, empowered I am, one of you worded it, it's like there is another kind of wheel that you co-create with God. Stop the I know best. I'm a really smart person. I'm intelligent. I have all the degrees. I have all the licenses. I have power. I have fame. I have money. That makes you in the hamster wheel, that gives you a little more chance to be here. But you're still on the hamster wheel. You just don't look as bad as the people down here that you take from. And then you have to take more from more of them to survive, which is basically like being a vampire, sucking blood from people to survive another day. But all you've done is get darker and darker. And as you know, in that movie, that scenario, the wheel goes around and you keep taking from other people, but you still at the end of the movie end up going, you know, shriveling up when the light hits you and being one, and then the dust blows away and you cease to exist. But you have bad karma. Now you have to come back as someone that doesn't have a chance of being up here. And you got to be somebody that gets beat up and taken from and so on. I'm not saying people that have been hurt and victims have previously all been bad. I'm saying you're going to end up down there dealing with the kinds of people, working within the kinds of people that are suffering because you misused your power. All that said, the wheel is a great analogy, the wheel of cycles. But take a clear vision, a view of what a wheel could be like. So if you say, God, you know, I've been running on my own wheel. Now Buddha says, get off the wheel. You know, what's that about? You know, the whole world, the karma, he's saying, reincarnation is called the wheel of, you know, recycling, right? But it's a wheel of illusion. This whole life is a wheel of illusion. But there's another wheel. There's another way. And that is being plugged in. First, the wheel of illusion, let's say. You got the outer wheel, of course. But there's a center hub, which could be me and my little ego, my separated self. So it's a false center. From that, spokes. Well, everybody you know is a spoke. Your relationships, your job, they're all just spokes. And what's interesting is you generally, the worst kinds of life you can have and wheel you can have is to have spokes that take you centrifugal force away from your center and out to the outer wheel. What is the outer wheel part? That's the limits I set on how screwed up I'm going to let my life be. I've got all kinds of disturbing spokes called folks in my life. But I have a limit on how much I'm going to let them tell me to drink. You see, that's your parameters. It's kind of funny if you think about it. So the first screwed up kind of a wheel is to have spokes that take you away from your center. Centrifugal force, out. There's a second way of living on the wheel of life, of illusion life. And that is actually not what you think, to go the other way. The second type is to jump from spoke to spoke. That's people that jump from thing to thing. Topics, fads, people. Oh, I got a new spoke in my life. I'm feeling so good because I found another spoke. But they're just another spoke. You know, if you've ever done wheel alignments, like on bicycles, every spoke, it's not like, well, it looks like all the spokes are there. That's a very crude way to look at a bicycle tire. A master puts that thing on a machine and balances every spoke. But that's what you're supposed to be doing with your life. Do you ever take an inventory about which spokes are a bit bent, which ones are imbalanced, which ones are broken? And one spoke off, you're a little off. And the more spokes that go off, and one being off, it's going to take the rest off. So imbalance in my life is going to be exponential. So that empowered I am means you got to show up and change this. I'm done with spokes that take me away from my center. Easy to say, but you got to live it. I'm also done jumping from spoke to spoke. Never again will I allow somebody to distract me with, false, yes, this politician's going to definitely change everything because he parts his hair on the other side of his head. Well, they're all still just weird people. So that's not going to determine the world's going to change. It's also true that the nicer looking partner is going to change your love life. They're just spokes. And those spokes are screaming at the pain they're in, just like you. So you can't just jump from spoke to spoke and say, this one's different. Because you jump to another spoke, and guess what? When one spoke's kind of screwed up on a wheel, it actually puts more strain on the other spokes. And what is that? Man, this is going weird places. So what happens in my life is if someone's not being a healthy spoke, that means the next person I find has twice as much, if not more, work because you need to make up for my previous spoke. Literally, tension level, they have to compensate for the one that's broken or bent. Is that making sense? Yeah. I hope so, because it isn't for me. I've never had a spoke bicycle. Anyway. So the spokes that take me away, that doesn't make sense. The jumping from spoke to spoke, that just doesn't make sense. But there's centripetal force, which is going to be a force that's going to take me toward my center. That's a different path entirely. Now, some people might think, because the truth of the matter is, and this is kind of a weird paradox, when I live my life, the center is God, which I'll come back to, but the center is God. The spokes are my relations. The outer wheel are called healthy boundaries. In a healthy wheel, that's what it looks like. In an unhealthy wheel, my off-centered self is trying to run the whole show. If it's screwed up, and it is, if I'm not plugged into God, my center is messed up, it's going to affect the spokes, and they're always going to have to be tensing to compensate for anything that's going off, which is my relationships. They're going to always be tense because it's always making up for my strangeness or my unhealed wounds or whatever. So now the outer so-called parameter or boundaries, the wheel's going to start wobbling and it starts to become very scared. That whole wheel is a scared wheel, which is our lives. Terrified. Just keep adjusting it. Just keep adjusting it. Which is like having a tire that's got a hole in it, and you'd plug it, and then another plug it, and another plug. At some point, there's no tire left. You just have a wheel of plugs. And that's actually not safe to drive on. Well, it's the same metaphor with the one of the wheel of spokes. You can't just keep tensing up to compensate to make sure you're okay. Hyper defense, you see? It's very, very unhealthy. There's supposed to be that sweet spot where everything's just working together. If my center hub is in fact God, now I use God to determine what kind of spokes I want in my life. This feels like a healthy tension level. Oh, this one's broken. Bye-bye. If someone in your life can't give up certain addictions and they keep trying to pull you back into that, but that doesn't resonate with your center, you might have to replace that spoke. Not judging or hating the spoke, but just it's time for a different spoke. It's throwing everything else off. So that means you have to have a maintenance program. You have to take responsibility and, okay, how are my spokes? First of all, how's my relationship with God? How are the spokes? Tighten this one a little, loosen that one a little. Nice maintenance program. More conversation, less conversation, so on. And just fine tuning. That's consistent on this planet. We've got to keep doing that. And the outer will then is one of peace. My outer life is going to reflect a balanced center and relations. Make sense? Yeah, so it all gets very interesting if you think about it, because it's not too tense, not too loose, but just, I got it. There's a peacefulness. I take responsibility. I don't just tell the center hub, this is what people use prayer for. Listen, God, fix my spokes. One of my spokes fell off. I want you to put it back. And it's a person that leaves and you want them back, you just say, no, that's not what, it's not what I want. I want harmony. I want peace throughout this whole thing. So when you ask about forgiveness and tolerance, forgiveness is one of the things that helps deal with the spokes. It's a tool to help balance the spokes. Tolerance, let me loosen this one a little and so on. But when a spoke is too far gone, it's okay for you to accept that it doesn't work. That doesn't mean you lack forgiveness. That spoke is too far gone. And sometimes relationships, there's too much water under the bridge. If ever you end or leave a relationship thinking, well, I'm leaving it because they're so messed up, you haven't practiced forgiveness. But you can end a relationship and do so with forgiveness. It means I'm not blaming, first of all. It means I'm also looking at my part and my lessons from that. There's a peace that should still maintain there. Maybe not always feeling that peace because there's hurt and lost, relations and all that and miscommunications, but at least you've done your best. And sometimes that's where it's going to go. And discerning intuition versus fear. Get in the habit of getting to know that center hub. Daily create communion with God. Now, I don't even tell you how. A Buddhist this, a pagan that, what, I don't care. And some people get all upset. I'm supposed to be a certain religion, but I'm not. So, but you think I should be. Well, I don't care. So this is, people, it's kind of funny because some people have a near-death experience and they say, and Jesus was telling me that I need to talk to Jesus more. Jesus was telling me I should. More often than not, when people have near-death experiences and they talk to God, there's no judgment on the other side. Most of the time. Once in a while, you have a very fear-based person that says, I went to the other side and I was told we're all going to hell. Okay, well, that's a person who's already living in hell and they're seeing images of their beliefs, right? It's so interesting that people could project that onto God. But that's how far away from our center we've gone. We live way out here on crooked and bent spokes, living in fear. And then we try to, hey, what do you believe about God? Well, let me tell you what I believe. I, being a spoke that's all twisted and bent and falling off the tire, am going to tell you about God. That's people that misrepresent God. They're screwed up. What are you going to, what do you expect? You won't know God until you learn to commune, and it's not complicated. Just call in the presence every day. Start every day with, here I am. You asked about feminine and the divine feminine. People think you have to fight for the cause of the divine feminine. But if it's divine, it doesn't need anybody to fight for it. You get that? I mean, I know some of you are like, I hate this guy. But listen. I'm sorry I don't enable your rage, okay? But if you're in touch with the divine feminine, she's not like, I need you to fight for me. She's like, you got to be kidding. We need to fight to protect Mother Earth because she's suffering. You haven't a clue of the power. I'm not saying we should damage the earth, But she is not an embodiment of the Divine Mother that's suffering, believe it or not. She can't suffer. She said that you're suffering, and the damage you do to the earth, she knows is actually you reflecting your own damage and disregard for yourself. When you take trash and throw it onto the earth doesn't, oh, I'm melting. But she also doesn't hate you for throwing garbage. She's just always reflecting us. And when that storm hits, it's something we've been building up for a long time. The earth isn't actually in pain from us. She's huge as an energy and entity. However, if things get too off, she just sneezes. Sometimes she just like, let me stretch a little. And that's like 5,000 people died here. And, 80,000 people homeless there because of a quake. And she's not doing that as karma. God's punishing us for, this is us reflecting to ourselves. And the mother just says, and so it is. How you all doing? We don't like each other, and so it is. And she'll reflect that. We hate each other. We're aggressive. Oh, well, that's going to probably take the form of war. But it isn't God that allows war. When people want to prove their intellectual prowess and say, I can prove there's no God. If there's a God, how could there be rape and war? Because we're idiots. This is how we treat each other. I'm off, and I'm going to take it out on you. Take responsibility, and it explains how it looks like God could do what God does. It isn't God. It's us reflecting to ourselves. We act like imbeciles. And by that, what I mean, it's not a judgment. I'm saying, how ridiculous. This is us building up our issues, our triggers, but not taking them here. We take them out on others. Fine tune your spokes, find what's broken, look inside, do some tracking, do some step work, right? Take a look at yourself. And that's the fine tuning. That's that living a life of maintenance. Communion with God is absolutely essential. So pray and meditate, get in touch with your center every day. But it's commune with God, but it's take responsibility with self. And then you will better connect with others. You won't have to jump from spoke to spoke if you're communing with God and looking within and keeping a maintenance program for yourself. Now I have a healthy connection with Spirit and a healthy connection with myself. Now the outer wheel, my life, meaning the outside appearance of it, it will move in balance. Still, life happens, and I'll just fine-tune and correct as best I can, and always go to center. That's the essential piece. But I also do my maintenance on a human level, and I just keep a nice equilibrium, a nice homeostasis. And the wheel seems to be pretty healthy. This is, moving away from the tangential, moving away from the addictive kinds of styles of, I'm upset again, jump to something else. I'm upset again, jump to something else. That's tiring. It's tiring to jump from spoke to spoke. Now, it might sound like, and for good reason, but it might sound like part of what I'm saying is stay close to home. Stay close to God and let God guide. Listen, if God is peace, let me see God as being peace. So when I meditate, when I pray, I'm asking to feel God's presence. And some people still think left brain linear. That means I want to see the clouds part and God's face peek down. Just letting you know I'm here. Okay, now I believe. Okay? There's ways that people manifest those things. A child sees an angel in its room and there's these miraculous things. But you're not supposed to be dependent on that. Faith means you just know it's there, it's happening, it's real. So that's a feeling. I can contact God in a prison cell. I can contact God in hell if I want to, because it means I'm asking to feel God's presence, and it's impossible to not be able to feel it, at least to some degree, even when you're most distracted and in pain. You can say, if God is peace, I'm calling in the feeling of peace, and now you've made God real to you. It's not visions. Okay? It's not visions. I know that's cool. It's fancy. So ease up on the acid and ayahuasca. Okay? I understand it's cool. I get it. Oh man, I saw things. Yeah, okay. That tends to happen when brain cells are dying. They tend to off-gas, bizarre colors, okay? Here come the letters to the office. How dare you tell me that LSD is not the way to go? I don't care. Do whatever you want to do. I'm just telling you that you're supposed to just breathe one breath and start to feel that presence. Not take anything, not do it, just right here. Anywhere. Solzhenitsyn, Mandela, all these different people that had the most challenging of circumstances, and yet they were able to say, but somehow, no matter where I was a prisoner, and yet I could close my eyes and feel something. Or people with near-death experiences. That's not exactly fun. And yet they're like, and then there was this glorious presence and light. And it's amazing. It's a feeling, and we can call on that feeling. A Course in Miracles explains the human brain is so programmed in so many different ways. But there's a subtle program we have, which is that when you're finally ready to see God, you have to die and go to the other side and see God. This is like the final act, sadly, of codependence. I actually think I have to die to see God. And you don't. But that's the most entrenched of our beliefs. The wages of sin is death. So we actually think there's no respite until we die. And I think we all have that to some degree or another. Oh my God, then I'll finally be able to sleep and rest in peace, right? Why not live in peace? Why does it have to be when you're dead and resting there? Trust me, if you were a jerk on planet Earth, you're not resting in peace. You're just resting in jerkism. You just got to go to the other side and you face yourself. So there's no, because I said so, I carved it on a slab, rest in peace. No, you're still there. Wherever you go, there you are. So you go to the other side and you realize, oh man, I thought I could rest in peace. And the Zenish, Taoistish kind of guide you have is going to go, yeah, everybody thinks that. But the peace comes from you not striving and pushing and fighting so much. Just call in the presence. And it's not, I'm supposed to be just now, from now on, I just, mani padme, and it's just presence. And it's not that you have to overtly walk around with the robe and chanting. Guys, you can be in a long line of people at a grocery store, being frustrated that they only have one teller. You could be, dealing with the emergency room. You're in pain, but they have 10 people in front of you, and those people have better insurance than you, so you have to wait. All the injustices of the world. You're supposed to find peace in that moment. I'm not saying that the hurt isn't there. It's just that you're supposed to say, there's another way of experiencing life right now. And it's a supernatural way. It isn't the logical one. I said this story years ago, but once, and a lot of my stories are travel stories because I was always on tour. But long story short, I was on tour and we flew late. It got later and later. We finally arrived in Miami. I think we entered the Bermuda Triangle and then we lost 3 days. But we eventually landed. Hot, humid, everybody's tired, and we're all just, dragging ourselves, and we got to go. And they're telling us, the airline, announcement, flight 666 hell, that's delayed forever. We've lost your luggage. The whole flight. We've lost your luggage. Now, it's like midnight, and I'm in my swim trunks, because that's all I wear when I'm not on Sunday, sir. I'm in my swim trunks and a t-shirt. I have a Sunday service to do in 8 hours. What do you mean you lost our clothes? It's not like they go, well, go to, a men's store down the street and get some fine clothes. No. That's it. You know what they do? You get in a long line, and we're all in 3 lines going way out the door. There's hundreds of people. And we're waiting so that they can, there's this toothbrush, and they slide it to you. That's it. It's like, well, listen, your life has fallen apart, but at least your breath will be fresh. I swear, they slide this little, there you go. Oh, a parting gift. I was kind of looking for the lottery, but this makes up for it. So they're doing this. Now, we're in long lines, and I'm halfway back. And there's one of those guys that doesn't want to find inner peace. And he's one of those, I'm never flying this airline again, I'll tell you that. And he starts all those lines you've all heard, right? I can't believe we pay all this money, blah, blah, blah. And he's just upsetting everybody. And then there's this lady who's got her kid, and Mommy, and it's midnight, and it's all fussy. And this guy's like, can you shut that kid up? And, so I've got mom who's feeling embarrassed, and her kid's making a scene. The guy's getting all upset, and so on and so on. I'm standing there, and it's what I do. It's, what would you have me do? Center. I'm not saying it's always easy, but you just do your best. Just try. This isn't by your own effort, so it shouldn't be that hard. But it is, because we're not used to knowing how to say, of myself, I'm nothing. I don't know what to do. It's hot, humid, I don't have clothes. I can't show up Sunday service in my swim trunks. So I'm all those thoughts are there. I'm not going to pretend it's not happening. It's stressful and scary and so on. Now you have all these other hundreds of sweaty people standing in line, up, and they're upset, and it's not making anything better. What did your luggage look like? It had zippers, rectangular in shape, and I'm sure you don't have any others that are also black canvasy kind of color. And okay, and they slide you the two, and the next, and we're going through the line. Now this guy's upset, and this kid's, everybody's irritated. And then she's like, be quiet to the kid. And the kid's getting upset, and she's done this like 3 or 4 times. Shush, And I said, lady, hit the guy that's complaining. Then we'll all be happy. We can shut him up. Your kid doesn't get hurt anymore. And we're actually rooting you on. Gladiator, go get him. No. So, and everybody laughed, and it lightened up a little bit. I swear. Sometimes that's what it is. Sometimes it's a thought of love, sometimes forgiveness. You will not know the answer until you know how to access your divine feminine self. Because the masculine is more often the doer, the receiver. The feminine is the receiver. The feminine says, what would you have me do? If you don't have an open mind, you will not receive guidance of a higher level, and you won't know how to fix a situation. Every doctor shouldn't be, I've got my knowledge and I've got my textbook knowledge and I'm going to do surgery, and that's great. I'm glad you're brilliant that way. But I would rather you also say, however, here I am. Guide my hands today. But I'm a surgeon. I don't need that. I know. And moms are moms, and dads are, everybody thinks they know all that they need to know, which is why the world is all screwed up, because nobody's allowing this, the prayer of the divine feminine. What would you have me do? And that is rooted, we know the story where Mary is being told, Mother Mary is being told, you're pregnant with child. And she says, I'm the handmaiden of the Lord, whatever you want me to do. Now, there's a lot of other thoughts you could have had. Did somebody sneak in while I was sleeping? Seriously, I'm not trying to be gross or rude. I'm saying, this is not okay. You're going to be ostracized. You're going to be kicked out of your group, your tribe, your village. Anybody that claims to be your husband, having done this with you, is going to be kicked out of the village, maybe even stoned to death. This wasn't like good news. The first awareness that Jesus is arriving is not followed by good news. You know why? Because this world has its version of good news and spirit has its. So that annoyance of what will people think of you when you make a little light joke or when you pray, or you know what? That's the way this world is going more and more. I shared this with you recently, but it's true. We have a monthly psychic fair. And now the internet powers, I won't name them, but all those internet things you use, whatever those things are called, the search engines and all, they're banning the word psychic. You're taking a whole group of people. We're not allowed to believe in them anymore. We're not allowed to know where they are and how to find them. So they ban us. Now there's a lot of naughty words, disgusting words That I think it's great that they say we're not going to enable these behaviors. So you're not allowed to use this word or that phrase or that act on the internet. I think it's great. How did psychic end up in that mix? Is it that dangerous? You know, and all that makes me, like if somebody says to me, well, because there's these people think that that's fallacy. It can't be proven to be accurate. You see? So therefore, they're saying their justification is, if you can't prove that it's accurate, then we won't put it on the net because that would be irresponsible. And I'm like, you know what? I don't care. I'm going to go hang out with 10 pagans rather than you people that are making the rules for the whole world. I'd rather hang with 5 psychics or 50 pagans. I'll even become a witch if that's going to be what you hate most. But I'm not joining your and enabling your style, your beliefs. It's disgusting. We're not talking about some evil thing. We're talking about psychics, and we're not allowed to use the term. So we have to change, the term there. So this world is just so tense, but it's going crazier and crazier in that direction. But underneath it, it's God isn't allowed to be existent. That's where it's going. And when you see posts and people saying, oh, the evil is, it's true that evil is going to, in your life and in our world, find ways to disallow spirit. That's why so many prophecies are related to persecutions of believers. It's not one kind. It's the Christians are going to be persecuted. It's anyone believing in God. It's going in that direction because the ego and the evil of the world doesn't want you to have faith in anything but it. The linear, ego-based world will tell you what to believe, will tell you how much you can buy and so on and so on. And that's, the whole pandemics and all these behaviors, and it's very, very disturbing, but it's technically, it's predictable. I'm not telling you to wear masks or not wear masks. That's not the conversation. I don't care. Do what you want to do. But this world is trying to prove there's no God. When we had powers that be, some of you were losing jobs because I guess you weren't wanting to get an injection or whatever they call it, an inoculation or whatever. Some of you were not wanting to do it, and some of you were losing jobs over it. Because you believe in God, and you're saying my religion or my beliefs are that I don't, and it says, no, you're not allowed to have those beliefs. You're going to do what we tell you. That's interesting, isn't it? That's like weird. So we wrote a letter that many of you used at work, and 9 out of 10 of them, you got to keep your jobs. Because at the end of the letter, we said, the burden of proof is on you. I believe in God. You don't. Prove to me there's no God, and then I'll follow your dictates. You see? But the letter ends with this brilliant wording, man. The burden of proof's on you. I believe. I don't need any proof. I'm good. But you want me to do something you want me to do, so the burden is on you to first prove there is no God. And there were all these apology letters to be, they didn't want to touch that one, And I think it's beautiful because sometimes you just have to be firm. Sometimes you've got to be strong. It happens. So in your wheel of life, sometimes you have to tense up those certain spokes, sometimes loosen them. And that's that movement of what is right in this given moment. There are people that would love for me to do Sunday services like this and then just be like this 24/7, which I generally am. I'm weird all the time. I am. I'm kind of weird, eccentric, and whatever. But some people would like this all the time. But if I go outside and somebody's had a car accident, I don't stand and go, well, you see, there's this wheel and spokes, and apparently your spokes were too tense. I don't philosophize. I go, and if somebody's causing a problem, hey, move out of the street. Move that car over here. You step up. You show up and do what needs to be done in the moment. You see? So it's that balance. Talk, love, peace, whatever. Everybody, we're all, cool, man, peace. But then something needs done. Hey, grab that, move. It's, if you were attacked by a wild something or other that lives in Arizona and it's gnawing on you, I'm gonna grab it, I'm gonna put it in a chokehold and take it out. And somebody's gonna go, oh my God, that's not the guy I just saw. Oh, he's a hypocrite. I'll put you in a chokehold. Just sorry. But I would do it with love. But you get my point? Like, you love and get a divorce. Love and get a good attorney. Love and change a tire. Love and direct traffic at a car accident. No, stop. It's dangerous for them to go. Stop. Get the other car to go. You don't, oh, beloved, oh, namaste. You got to deal with this stuff. And if you're a surgeon, you don't go, nurse, if it feels like it's appropriate for your boundaries and would you please get us a scalpel because they're bleeding to death. We need to tie up, and some stitches. You get it. Go, stat, move. That's what you got to do. But humans that are looking for issues to complain about and so forth, oh yeah, they're going to attack you. So that's why sometimes I'm a bit blunt about things like this and the psychics. It's bogus. And my joke about lady hit the guy. I mean, that could have been interpreted as dangerous. Do I care? No, because I knew my intention and it was coming from the right place. But all too often I've seen the effects of people lightening up, what that looks like. You get that? And everybody's done this to some degree, but what I'm asking you to do is recognize the value of it and do it more often. I'm not talking about punchlines. I'm talking about changing the mood, the vibe in a situation. Bring forgiveness and it changes the frequency of any situation. Bring in love and it changes the frequency. Bring in patience, tolerance, anything of that nature. You're actually changing a frequency, a vibration in a room. Same with music. There's something happening musically, a band's playing a certain thing. Another instrument added, something's added. You might like it, you might not like it, but something changes the mood, the music of the moment. And if you're playing out of key, it's discernible, especially to those who know what frequency was there a moment ago. So there's this nice, calm vibe, and then someone throws a wrench in the works, and you got to say no to those things. Okay? Don't enable just, this hurtful behavior. Hurtful behavior comes from selfishness. And you have to say no to that sometimes. Sometimes calmly, how can I help you? Other times, stop. Not today. Jesus did it as well. He's known to have had moments of peace, love, and Bobby Sherman, For anybody who's under 90, I'll explain Bobby Sherman. It's part of the 60s flower power thing. But anyway, Jesus did that, but there's moments where he said, not today. Get behind me, Satan. That's some firm stuff. But the world's asking us, find the balance, man, your wheel. So coming towards a close on all that, there's the hub, that's God. And I'm learning, I want spokes that take me to my center. But that implies two things. One, that you're only central focused. Well, then you can't have a wheel that's this big. I'd hate to drive in a car that only has a wheel this big. Oh my God, it's like a mini moped. It's not even, going to get me there because you need the wheel to be larger, more balanced, and you'll get somewhere easier. More work with a wheelbarrow that the smaller wheel, and the larger wheel all of a sudden lifts the burden. It becomes like a thing of physics in a sense. So I recognize I need to start off with lots of God, and you know what, guys? Keep your spokes close to home. Don't do too much drinking. If you have wine with your dinner, occasionally that's your custom. I had a great grandmother who lived to be 180 trillion years old. And she was a wine every day with her meal, but she never got drunk. She just had red wine with it. But that was okay. Jesus drank red wine, but he wasn't like knocking down 6-packs every day, for breakfast. Balance. So I can't seem to handle more alcohol. I tend to go with more and more and more. Then that's a spoke that's way out here. Reel it in and don't do any. Relationships, oh my God, I just tend to go full on and I go, I fall in love and then I get heartbroken and I get angry and everybody's betrayed me. And okay, that spoke's way out there. Reel it in. Just start here and find what you can successfully pull off in your life. Job, relationships, all the various kinds of cycles and peoples in your life. This is how far I can go. I can go to a couple dates, but it starts to get weird after that. Reel it in. Keep it to a couple dates. But this one I think is different. We're still talking about you. And your history is, if you go any further, it goes off. Just keep it here. Certain boundaries, you let that person know. So now, again, it sounds like keep it all in. No, no, no. My own feeling, my wheel is immense because I have a vast mind, a lot of trust, and so on and so on. So my wheel is way out here. It sounds like, well, no, Michael's saying way out there would be a lack of boundaries. No, no, listen. It's how much you can tether to God and how far you can go with God. Some of us can't go 3 steps out our door without losing God. Right? See? So the solution, twofold. One, I've already said, stay centered in God and keep a balance of your life. And that balance concept is part of this. It's only go out as far as you can do with God. If saying yes to someone, your kids, partners, whatever, saying yes, and then they start to abuse, that means you do not know where the outer wheel is, the end, the cap, the parameter. And that's not their fault, although they're predators upon you. Why are you bleeding in their ocean and their sharks coming after you? Stop bleeding into their ocean. Own yourself. Heal yourself. This is my center. That's as much as I know. Come out a little more. Come out a little more. You slip, oops, don't jump all the way back to zero. One step back. Okay, that was a little much, so let me step back here and recalibrate. So remember this, because the ultimate thing, my finale I'm getting to on this is this. Wherever I am on the spokes, okay, here's my center in God. And part of that center is my connection to God, obviously. But I take that connection onto my spokes. How do I do that? I try to communicate as clearly as possible. I try to communicate with as much love, compassion, tolerance. Take God into your relations. And that means all your interactions with things as well as people. Cars or whatever it is you're into. You have a car, 2 cars maybe, but do you need 8? Now your spokes are one spoke is the cars. I don't give people the time of day, but I got a car spoke that's there. That means my wheel is kazum, 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 right? It's not really sweet. So what you could do is take your extra 50 car collection and start giving them to some of the people that don't have any cars. You're balancing it. You see? You're balancing it. Give and share, man. Give and share. You can't take it with you. Give and share. Understand the value. You are not made by how many cool things you have. You're made by how much love you have, and you recognize we're all in this together. That doesn't mean enable and take your multi-valuable, millions of dollars worth of in your collection of cars and give it to people that won't, care or notice it. They're going to go hawk the car and so on. I'm not saying that it's enabling and trying to rescue everybody. But what can you do that would work? Find your balance. Find spokes. Watch when you're jumping from spoke to spoke. Oops. There's the spokes that take me away. There's the spokes of me jumping from relationship to relationship. That's got to all end now. Now, all of a sudden, God is my center. The spokes are an extension of how I'm doing with God and myself. Now my spokes are healthier. What spokes I want on my wheel, I choose. And what happens is you kind of have these, a balanced life. Like in my wheel, there's certainly no perfection because this world is an imperfect place and you're adjusting and maintenance all the time. But I would say that I would define some of the spokes on my wheel to be high performance and others to be durable. Because there's times I need to go from center and bring God out into my life. Whether that's, okay, I'm in my center, but now it's time to raise kids. Now it's time to, feed the animals or 3D things, go to work. Can you take that center to work? If not, do I need to make an adjustment to my spokes? Am I in a workplace that's just not really working for me? Do you have a relationship that's really just not working? Every time you say, hey, you look great today. What do you mean? Are you saying that I don't look great other days? And you're just like, I can't keep overthinking things like this. bloody hell, lady, you know. I was just complimenting you and I got a like barrage of stuff and I got to like explain and defend. Sometimes you can just go, adios. It's okay. And, you know, and then just talk to God about it. What were you thinking? It's all right. But think about this, you know, just peace. Peace is what matters most because peace is God. Love is what matters because love is God. So you make your adjustments. And I, you know, in my own personal life, I make those adjustments pretty consistently. But I have a very odd and eccentric style of a life. For me to say I'm going to enter a relationship kind of spoke. That's all fine and dandy. But as I've shared with you very openly, like, hey, listen, we're really having good chemistry. This feels like we could go some good places. And, you know, this spoke is another spoke this is kind of cool. But by the way, I'm never available and I'm always working and my phone is always on and I take session calls 24/7. In other words, beloved, you don't matter. And what I mean by that is the work comes first for me. I don't mind that you could think I'm a workaholic because I don't care what you think. But it's not that. It's the work comes first. And some people will say, oh, that's so moving and amazing. And I've been looking for a person that makes work first. Part of me is going to go, that's so sweet. Not, you know, like, I know that your heart, you want somebody in your life. You want somebody there, you know, it's right. And I don't blame those people. I actually do not blame them. I take the hit. I know I'm an impossible person to live with. I don't eat anything you would eat. I don't watch anything you would watch. Oh, can we watch? No. Well, I haven't even told you the movie yet. I know, but no, I don't watch anything. I don't want to watch murder mysteries. I don't like dramas. I'm not into that. Well, let's listen to music. Okay, how much are you into the Beatles? That's about it for me. I like lyrics that are deep, that say something. Same as movies. I want in my life, that's me. I love depth. I love substance. And if we're intimate, I want that to have substance. If we're doing music, I want that to have substance. If I have a spiritual center and we're doing something, substance. That's what I like. If somebody said, we're going to give you $1 million a year to do talks, very shallow, I couldn't do it. It's not just a matter of principle. I don't think I could. From John 13:5, the Lord loves you, but is definitely sending you to hell. I can't. Like, I can't do that. You know, a vision of a Messiah. Oh, beloveds, go to hell. I can't. No offense to those preachers, you know. Oh my God. Yeah. Because it's fine, but you know what's sad is they're still living the crucifixion in themselves. It's all about death and punishment. And I get that. This world can be so challenging, it can drag any of us into a state of crucifixion. All you have to do is think back to who's been selfish in their behaviors towards you, and that was you being crucified. All you have to think about is anybody you ever dissed or dumped and broke their heart, they felt crucified. Am I saying you were right or wrong? No. I'm not even telling you which spokes are good and bad. You can totally dig. Centrifugal force. I love being away from my center and just living on the edges, on the outside of and being, you know, a life and being a victim or wild and crazy. It's going to come back. That's just it. But I don't judge you for it. I would rather even hang out with people who are living way out at this edge in the most dangerous ways of life that are honest about it than those who pretend they're on the other, centered in God and dishonest about it. You're telling me you're a pastor, a minister, and everybody's going to go to hell because they don't join your church. It doesn't make sense to me. So I'd rather hang out with these, and that's what Jesus did. And the Pharisees complained about it, and he said, well, you want to know why I hang out with tax collectors, which were considered very terrible people at that time, still. But, you know, tax collectors were really, really hated. Romans were hated. But everybody was shaming prostitutes and all these kinds of things. And Jesus sat with them and talked. You know, because he was saying, because they're listening. When I speak to the Pharisees, they're like this. Tell us what you think you know, Jesus. He tells them, they're like, no. You know, it's like that. And I've had ministers like that I've dealt with in my years of touring. One time I was doing a talk on miracles. And this guy, he was more old school, and he decided, he was the minister there, and he decided all his audience kept saying, we have to have this Michael Mirdad guy. We love this guy. We want him back. And that was part of his contract. That's the worst thing you can do with a minister, is tell them, we're going to hire you as our minister, but in your paperwork, it says, we want Michael Mirdad here twice a year. And they're like, I hate this guy. I haven't even met him. Because you see why, right? They get a little insecure. So I'm there because they asked me to be there. And I'm talking about miracles. And he's sitting there in the service just, and I'm seeing him. And then he starts mumbling stuff. And then his wife, with her, and they're mumbling things to each other. Now I'm seeing heads in the aisles turning around, looking at them like, because they're being disruptive. And I finally said, is there a problem during my talk? Is there a problem? Well, I just wanted to point out that you're only here because they've asked me to bring you here. But I want to just say that you're talking about miracles and things like that, but you're not even referencing the Bible. I go, I've already mentioned Revelation and book of James. And what do you mean? No, that was nothing. So he sits there shaking his head going, we don't believe in anything you're teaching here. This is what the minister and his wife, she's like, that's right. So, and you know what I said? I said, I'm so sorry. I totally get what you're saying, but only one of us is being paid to talk, so be quiet. That's what I said to the minister of a church. And this lady in front of him turned around and go, would you shut up? That's what she said to the guy. They got up and left. And then I got called into his office. That was going to go well. We're used to dealing with young recalcitrants and troublemakers, and I'm sitting there thinking, what is this about? Like, you're supposed to be representing God, and you want to just take the time? Before we pay you, we just wanted to make sure we let you know. And strangely, he died within a year. Yeah, he did. That tension, that hatred and tension, he was never at peace in the first place. So do you go, good? Our hearts should be going out to people that are that hatred in this world. Don't enable it, but don't hate them, because then you're feeding the very thing that they feed off of. So, love, man. All you can do, is love. And I understand, forgive them, they know not what they do. That's the general theme to it all. As you asked, forgiveness, tolerance. Forgive them, they know not what they do. So it's so important to remember the balance of the wheels is sometimes this guy's being rude. You even have to balance that spoke a little bit. You could also completely retract and say, oh my God, he was mean to me. People will be. And you can just jump all the way back, but at least when you jump back, go to God, this direction. But does that mean the spoke should only be like this long? Come out and come out and come out and oops and come out. So I feel like my ability to trust is way out here. I can work with any type, talk to any kind of person and just blend in without shaming people. And it's probably been maybe the most traumatic part of my life to be this kind of person. I could be so much safer if I lived like this. So I'm not telling you all, jump out there and just trust and leap. No, I'm telling you. It's been the most painful part of my life that it feels like friends are okay and center's okay, the board and students and internet and whatever I'm working on, everything's expansive. It's so beautiful. But every so often, extensive amounts of trust that's a lot to do sometimes, and your hand gets slapped or bit. And it is tempting. And I do it sometimes where sometimes I get tempted and go, That's it. That's it. No more. No more trust. No more being so free in my conversations with people. Just boom. Eat alone, live alone. And it does. And I do a lot of that. Just stay here. Within myself, it's here. But most people wouldn't know that. You know why? Because when they're in need, I reach out and help. That never changes. Even when I retract, I only retract inside of my mind and heart. Nobody typically would know it. Does that make sense? So you can still be there for your kids, but you can also know that certain things enables them, so part of you pulls in a little and knows better. Does that make sense? Okay? So know the truth, but respect the illusion. And the illusion is, hey, the truth is I could trust everyone in the universe, but the illusion is that's a lot. That's a bit much. Let me start with one person, myself. Then my counselor, my sponsor. Oh, look, I've got a few. Because there have been wills invented that only had 3 spokes. 4 spokes, 5 spokes. Some chariots, the Assyrians and the Egyptians. And, it worked. It can happen. And then you add another and another, and it's quite nice to realize trust is expansive. Love is expansive, not constrictive. But love forgives you when you have to constrict and recalibrate. So take good care in that sense. Please take a few centering breaths. For just a moment, take an honest look at your life. Based on the wheel of illusion, how healthy is the hub? How often do you pray, meditate? Really commune, not just a ritual or exercise. I mean, feel the presence. On a 0 to 10 scale, how healthy is that hub? Well, I think it's a 7, but I could notch it up a little. I could bring it to an 8 or a 9. Or it might be a 3, whatever it is. And don't assume that just how often you pray and meditate determines the hub. Let's go one step further. How healthy are the spokes in your life? Because that is partly a reflection of how you're doing with you and God, your own inner healthiness. So the spokes have to be looked at to partly determine the hub. Your relationships. Do people know where you're coming from? Do they know what's okay and not okay? Are you comfortable telling them this works, this doesn't? Do you have any spokes that try to take you 3 times further out than you really want to? Don't judge the spoke. Just realize that actually, if I have a wheel that's 3 feet across and a spoke is 8 feet, it's not helpful. How can I trim this spoke or that spoke back a bit? Too many hours at work, trim it back so that it fits within your balanced wheel concept. Any unhealthy components to your wheel? And are you good about letting people know the parameters for you? When you go on a date, do they know what you will and will not do? When you get a job, do they know what you will and will not accept as a pay? If people take advantage of you, there's a spoke that's way past your line. Just see who it is, what it is, and make some adjustments. And switching gears, just imagine with your next few breaths, make believe that when you breathe the next few breaths, nice, deep, and slow, that in comes a total sense of peace and joy. Make believe. Half dozen breaths. Just total peace and joy. Make believe. Kids can do it. You say, make believe you're happier than you've ever been, and they could pretend that they're happy. Do it. Make believe you're feeling the most peace and joy you've ever felt. That is your center hub, and it's in your heart center as well. So imagine your heart is opening. You feel peace and love, joy and gratitude, peace and happiness. Breathe it in. But if you've breathed it in, and if you're really actually make-believing, you should be able to make believe also the results. What would it feel like if you were filled with peace and joy? Probably should be like a kid on Christmas. Like excitement, happiness, giddiness. It should be hard to contain because you're feeling so bright. And if you're not feeling that, you're still thinking about it. Peace and joy, peace and joy. Now, simply this. Look at your life, your job, your relationships, and so forth. Which ones resonate and do not resonate with your feeling on the hub, peace and joy, peace and happiness? Be honest. Holy Spirit of God, Divine Mother, please guide me and show me what things in my life are not resonating with this center of peace and happiness. Don't fall into the temptation of judging those things. Just see them, and let's make some adjustments to them. Change what you can, and then we'll accept what you can't. So you'll need to tighten this one up and loosen that one up, trim this one back, and then the tire starts to become balanced, the wheel. It's a wheel of harmony. And you become so aware and clear about this as we close the meditation that you're actually able to say, I'm now getting so proficient at this that I can take my center in God at any moment to go out on a spoke and serve the spoke and bring greater love to each spoke, not just a general vibe of a wheel. I can take the consciousness of my center and draw it out on a spoke and give more of it to that person for this moment, to that group of people, because it goes with me wherever I go. At first, I have to stay very consolidated and connected to that hub. But once we connect enough, God says, go out and preach the gospel and heal the sick. Metaphorically, it means from your center, bring the center out, not lose your center and go out. That's dysfunction and codependence, addiction. It's bring the center where you go. Spend just a half a minute imagining what that could or should look like in your life. Imagine, wow, I'm creating a wheel of life instead of a wheel of karma. But it can't happen without me taking responsibility. It can't happen without me stepping up, make changes in my life. Quietly giving thanks for everything we've accomplished, whatever you heard that made sense to you during the talk, what you're accomplishing during the meditation. Anchor it in as real. Anchor it in as I totally get it, and it becomes yours. And so it is.
So it is.
How's our Prescott contingents?
Yes.
Yeah. Good. Good to see you again. We got a group that comes, people from Tucson and Flagstaff, and Prescott is kind of cool. Good to see you. You're welcome. I pray this has all made good sense for everyone, and you can integrate this into your mind. Oh, thank you. Thank you. We have an incredible center, and as I said, I love, depth, like let's stop settling these things in this world. Just let's all find a way to bring more and more love here out to the spokes and out to the wheel, and the wheel works with all the other wheels, and we just refine what life looks like on this planet. Yes. And and part of what I shared, we're going to do our collection and our closing prayer now. Part of what I said when I said, and sometimes you got to be firm. Does that make sense to folks? I mean, right? You do see that, right? Be careful about, just being hyper passive. As Edgar Casey said, being a good Christian does not mean being a doormat. There's balance. It's being able to say no, not with hatred, but, hey, clarity, man. We had somebody, you're probably watching online, we had a psychic fair an intuitive arts. I don't want this video to be banned. We had an intuitive arts fair last Sunday. And we had someone show up and pretend to be one of our psychics. And they were kind of doing some readings outside and collecting some money and all that. Listen. We don't just go, oh, well, it must be meant to be. No. Read your restraining order. And it will not say, but Spirit allows this. No, it doesn't say that because it's no. You're not going to do that to our attendees here. Mess with them like that. And they're saying, oh, well, I'm better than the psychics inside. So, the ones that really want a reading come out and see me. No, that's why you have to sneak when you try to do that at our center, because you're being out of integrity. And you know that. That's why you've been banned from our center. And I don't mind saying that people are like, oh, that doesn't sound forgiving. Then you leave too. I don't care. The spokes are going to be nice and healthy here, man. And so some people don't like that when I speak up like that. But hey, what am I going to do? All right. We're going to take up our collection. Please, what? Yeah, this chakra painting here was donated by one of you. And we're going to let you guys, in the lobby there, you can talk to Dosi, and she'll just ask you, a little bidding on it to see, what your donation can be. She'll start it at like $40, and then go on up from there. So thank you. Now, and I want to extend this one, even though it was gifted to us that we could sell it or give it or whatever. I want to extend this one from the pulpit here. It's I think the most beautiful picture I've ever seen of the concept of Jesus as a youngster. But who feels it? Can you pass this back? First hand that went up. All right, thank you. So our love offering prayer, put your consciousness into it. Remember, even if you don't feel you have funds, put your love and support into the basket just with a blessing, with a prayer. Our prayer together, please. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Thank you. All right, so we'll do our closing prayer in just a moment. Can anyone share what you learned? Oh, the purple bags are for your donations. The baskets are just for any extra donations, like for the roof or people of lesser means that we try to help out. Okay, mainly the bags you put your donation in. So can anyone share, what did you learn or hear today that made the most sense or could be the most valuable? What? Know the truth, but respect the illusion.
Thank you for being our spokesperson for the Wheel of Life today.
You like that? The wheel of life, yes.
The Wheel of Harmony.
The wheel of harmony. Ever live in harmony. Western, did I say?
You said rest in
Rest in jerkism, yeah. Yeah, you don't rest in peace, man, if you weren't very peaceful on earth. Imagine that the wheel goes around, right? So what you put out comes back. So if you die, you don't rest in peace. If you didn't bring people peace, you get to only experience you again. So it doesn't work that you don't get a day pass in heaven or whatever. No, it doesn't work that way. You can never escape ourselves. Anyone else?
That you're creating your future with every thought you have.
Yeah. issue from the past that's not healed is creating today. And everything today that you do not resolve and the good that you do is what will create your tomorrow. Do you want to guarantee that tomorrow's going to be better? Would anybody, would you say yes?
Yes.
The only way to guarantee it is clear the past and be nice in the present. I mean, that is nothing but yesterday and today. It doesn't, you don't just, I'm going to pretend this didn't happen and just go jolly into a new life. It doesn't work that way. The cycles, man, the wheel, it's very clear. You're either working from that wheel of karma, cause and effect, or a wheel of life, a wheel of harmony, with God as your central hub. You guys okay with all that God talk, a central hub, and doesn't sound too preachy, right? Yeah, good, okay. These things come through, man. I'm talking about the wheels and spokes. Like, I've never even been on a bike, and I'm like, spokes, remember, All right, please stand for our closing prayer. First, just take a moment, hand or not on your heart. Just take a moment to just give thanks that you're open-hearted and open-minded enough to be in a service like this. It's not that it's mine. I'm saying that you're open enough to experience this kind of a sacred service. A lot of other things you could be doing today that wouldn't be like this. You chose this, so give yourself some credit. Own that you're on the path and you're really happy about being on the spiritual path. Your weekends could be spent at all kinds of things that are not very spiritual or holy. So, you're doing good. Own that. Own you're not doing as you did in the past. Own that in the present, you really like that you made this choice, assuming you do. And own that this would help guarantee that tomorrow's going to be better. With that in mind, that's called taking responsibility in a good way. We affirm the light of God surrounds us.
We are the light of God.
The love of God enfolds us.
We are the love of God.
The power of God protects us.
We are the power of God.
And the presence of God watches over us.
We are the presence of God.
Wherever we go, God is, I am, we are, and so it is. Peace be with you all. Thank you.